She waited until our engagement party with both families watching to tell everyone I was lucky she even said yes. I stood there with a ring on her finger, a smile frozen on my face, and a room full of people laughing like I was part of the joke. My name is Daniel. I was 29 when this happened, and at the time I thought I was about to start the best chapter of my life. My fiancée, Claire, and I had been together for almost 4 years. We met through mutual friends, and in the beginning she was warm, funny, and sharp in a way that made every room feel more interesting. She had this confidence I admired. She could talk to anyone. She always knew what to say. I was quieter, more careful, and usually the person holding the camera instead of standing in front of it. For a long time, that balance worked. She pushed me to try new things. I grounded her when she got overwhelmed. At least that was how I saw it. Before the engagement, life felt normal. We had Sunday coffee runs, movie nights, grocery store arguments about which pasta sauce was better, and long talks about the house we wanted one day. She used to send me photos of furniture and say, "This would look good in our place." I saved almost every one. When I proposed, she cried before I even finished the sentence. She hugged me so hard I almost dropped the ring box. Her parents were there. My sister recorded it. Everyone clapped. For 3 weeks after that, I felt like I was floating. Then small things started changing. At first, it was easy to ignore. Claire became obsessed with the engagement party. Not excited. Obsessed. She wanted the perfect dress, the perfect venue, the perfect photos, the perfect entrance. Every conversation turned into the party. I didn't mind helping, but after a while I noticed I wasn't being asked. I was being assigned. Wear the navy suit, not the gray one. Don't speak too long if someone asks you to say something. Please don't make that awkward joke you always make. I laughed it off the first few times. Then she started correcting me in front of people. At dinner with her friends, I mentioned that we were thinking about a small wedding. Claire smiled and said, "He thinks we're thinking about a small wedding." Everyone laughed. I looked at her, waiting for her to soften it, but she kept smiling. On the ride home, I said, "That felt a little weird." She sighed like I had ruined the night. "Daniel, it was just a joke. You take everything so personally." That sentence became her favorite shield. It was just a joke. I was too sensitive. I was overthinking. But something about her jokes started to feel less like teasing and more like warnings. A week before the party, I walked into our apartment and heard Claire on the phone in the bedroom. She didn't know I was home early. Her voice was low, but I heard my name. "No, he'll be fine. He knows how I am." Then she laughed. I stood in the hallway with my keys still in my hand. She said, "My mom keeps saying I settled too fast, but it's not like he's a bad guy." I didn't move. Then she added, "He's safe. That matters." Safe. That word hit me harder than it should have. Not loved, not wanted, not chosen. Safe. I backed away and closed the front door louder than usual, so she would think I had just come in. She walked out smiling, phone already hidden behind her back. "Hey, you're early." I wanted to ask her what she meant. I wanted to ask if she saw me as a partner or just a careful decision. But she kissed my cheek and started talking about centerpieces, and I let the moment disappear. That was my mistake, because the next few days got worse. She became nervous around me, but not in a sweet way. More like she was preparing for something. She kept texting her best friend Madison, then turning her phone face down whenever I walked in. When I asked if everything was okay, she said she was just stressed. The night before the engagement party, I found a folded piece of paper on the kitchen counter. It was a draft of her speech. I wasn't trying to snoop. It was sitting beside the guest list, open enough that my name caught my eye. Most of it was normal. She thanked her parents. She thanked my family. She mentioned how we met. Then I read one line that made my stomach tighten. "Daniel may not be the kind of man I imagined ending up with, but he loves me in a way that makes life easier." I read it 3 times. The words did not change. I stood there, hearing the refrigerator hum, feeling like the apartment had suddenly become too small. When she walked in, I folded the paper back the way I found it. She noticed immediately. "Did you read that?" I said, "Some of it." Her face changed, not guilt, irritation. It's just a draft. That line about me not being the kind of man you imagine, she cut me off. You're making it a big deal. It is a big deal. She crossed her arms. I'm trying to say something meaningful. Not everything has to sound like a movie. I stared at her. Is that how you see me? She looked away for a second, and that second told me more than her answer. I see you as someone stable, she said. That's not an insult. It felt like one. I asked her not to say anything like that at the party. She rolled her eyes. Fine, Daniel. I'll make sure your feelings survive my speech. I slept on the couch that night, not because she asked me to, but because I couldn't lie beside her with that sentence in my head. By the next morning, she acted like nothing happened. She brought me coffee, kissed my forehead, and said, "Can we please have a good day?" I wanted that too, more than anything. So I put on the navy suit. The party was at a small event hall her parents rented. White flowers, gold lights, a photo wall with our initials on it. People were smiling, taking pictures, hugging us. My mom cried when she saw Claire's ring. My dad shook my hand and said he was proud of me. For a while, I started to relax. Maybe I had overreacted. Maybe she had changed the speech. Maybe the stress had made both of us sharp. But then Madison walked past me with another bridesmaid and whispered, "Wait until the toast." They both laughed. It was quick, almost nothing. But my chest tightened again. I looked across the room at Claire. She was posing for photos with her friends, holding her ring hand up near her face. She looked perfect, calm, in control. And suddenly I felt like everyone knew something I didn't. After dinner, her father gave a toast. It was warm and simple. He said I was patient, respectful, and good to his daughter. My parents smiled. Claire squeezed my hand under the table. Then Madison spoke. She made jokes about Claire being picky, about bad dates, about how Claire used to have high standards and dramatic lists. Everyone laughed. I smiled politely. Then Madison said, and then came Daniel. Not exactly the dream board guy, but somehow the one who stuck around. The room laughed again. I looked at Claire. She laughed too. Not nervously, not uncomfortably. She laughed like it was funny. Something inside me went quiet. Then Claire stood up. Everyone cheered. Someone clinked a glass. She held the microphone and smiled out at the room. She thanked everyone. She said the party was beautiful. She said her parents had helped so much. She said Madison had kept her from losing her mind. Then she turned to me. For 1 second, her eyes softened, and I thought maybe I was wrong. Then she said, "Daniel is probably the most patient man in this room, which is good, because anyone marrying me needs serious patience." People laughed. I smiled because I didn't know what else to do. She continued, "When I was younger, I had this picture of who I'd end up with. Someone bold, exciting, maybe a little unpredictable." She looked at me with a playful smile. Then life gave me Daniel. More laughter. My ears started ringing. She kept going. "He is not flashy. He is not the guy who walks into a room and takes over. He is not the kind of man I thought I would show off." The room got quieter, but not enough. Some people still laughed because they didn't know where to place the discomfort. Claire lifted her glass. "But he is dependable. He shows up. He listens. He lets me be myself. And after enough bad choices, you learn that safe can be enough." Safe can be enough. There it was again, in front of my parents, in front of her parents, in front of our friends, in front of everyone who came to celebrate us. My face burned. I looked down at the table because I couldn't look at anyone else. My mother had stopped smiling. My sister's mouth was slightly open. My dad was staring at Claire like he didn't recognize her. Claire wasn't done. She smiled at me and said, "So yes, I'm lucky. But let's be clear. He's lucky too. Very lucky." That got a few laughs. Then she added the line that ended everything. Because not every woman would choose the nice guy after realizing he was never her first choice. The room went still. Not quiet. Still. The kind of still where even the air feels embarrassed. Claire lowered the microphone a little, finally noticing the change. Her smile twitched. I stood up. She blinked. "Daniel?" I didn't say anything at first. I took the napkin off my lap and placed it on the table. My hands were shaking, but my voice wasn't when I finally spoke. I don't think I can marry someone who sees me as the lesson after bad choices. Her face drained. A few people gasped. She whispered, "Don't do this here." That almost made me laugh, but there was nothing funny left in me. "You chose here," I said. Her eyes filled fast, but I could not tell if it was pain or panic. I took one step back from the table. "I asked you last night not to make me feel small today." Her mother stood up and said, "Daniel, maybe take a minute." My dad stood too. He didn't speak. He just looked at me and gave one small nod. That nod broke something in me, because it was the first time all night I felt like someone saw what was happening. Claire came toward me, still holding the microphone, like she forgot everyone could hear her. "It was a joke," she said. There it was again. The same shield, the same excuse, the same sentence she used every time her words cut too deep. I looked at the microphone in her hand, then back at her. No, it was a speech. Her hand dropped. I slipped the engagement photo card from the table and set it beside my glass. It had our names printed in gold, Claire and Daniel. I stared at it for a second and felt strangely calm. Then I walked out. Not fast, not dramatic. I just left. Behind me, I heard chairs moving. I heard Madison say my name. I heard Claire start crying. I heard my mother call after me, but not to stop me, just to make sure I wasn't leaving alone. My sister drove me home. Neither of us spoke for almost 10 minutes. Then she said, "I'm sorry." That was when I finally cried. Not loud, not in a way anyone would notice from another car. Just quiet tears I couldn't hold back anymore. The next few days were brutal. Claire called me 36 times the first night. Then came messages, long ones, short ones, angry ones, sad ones. She said I embarrassed her. Then she said she was humiliated. Then she said I should have spoken to her privately. Then she said she didn't mean it the way it sounded. I read every message and replied to none. Her father called me 2 days later. He sounded tired. He said, "I watched the video. I didn't know there was a video." He said someone had recorded the toast, and by then half the family had seen it. He didn't defend her. He didn't attack me. He just said, "I understand why you walked out." That meant more than he probably knew. Claire came to the apartment on the 4th day. I had already packed most of my things. The lease was in both our names, but I had arranged to stay with my sister until we worked out the details. When Claire saw the boxes, she started crying again. "You're ending this?" I looked at her, and for the first time I didn't feel pulled back by her tears. "I think you ended it when you wrote that speech." She shook her head. "I was trying to be funny. I was trying to be open about us." I said, "You were open. That was the problem." She sat on the edge of the couch and covered her face. For a moment, I saw the woman I had loved, the woman who used to send me furniture photos, the woman who cried when I proposed, the woman I thought was choosing me with her whole heart. Then she said something that confirmed I was making the right decision. "I didn't think you'd actually leave." There it was. She had counted on my patience. She had counted on my quiet. She had counted on me absorbing the damage because that was what I had always done. I removed the ring box from the drawer and placed it on the coffee table. She had thrown the ring at me through a message the night before, saying I could have it back if I wanted to act single. Now it sat between us like the final piece of a life we never got to build. I told her I didn't hate her. I told her I hoped she learned not to treat love like a backup plan. Then I left. The wedding was canceled within a week. Some people took sides. Some said I should have waited until after the party. Some said public disrespect led to a public ending. I stopped trying to control what anyone thought. Months later, Claire sent one last email. She said she watched the video again and finally heard herself the way everyone else heard her. She said she was ashamed. She said I had given her stability, care, and loyalty, and she had mistaken those things for weakness. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted to punish her, because I had already spent years explaining my pain to someone who only understood it after an audience saw it too. I moved into a smaller apartment. I kept working. I started going out with friends again. My sister helped me delete the wedding folder from my laptop. My mom kept the suit because she said one bad memory should not ruin a good jacket. Some nights were hard. I missed the version of Claire I thought I knew. I missed the future I had built in my head. I missed the life that almost happened. But I never missed how I felt at that table. I never missed shrinking in front of people. I never missed being called safe like it was a consolation prize. Walking away in front of everyone was not the moment I lost my future. It was the moment I finally chose myself.